Let's talk about one of the most ambitious projects of our time. India's plan to build a massive port in Iran. Now, this isn't just a story about concrete and cranes. It's a geopolitical chess move, really. It's all about bypassing barriers to kickstart a whole new era of trade. So let's dive into how India is literally trying to redraw the commercial map.
You see, for decades, India had a huge problem. It wanted to tap into the massive markets in Afghanistan and Central Asia, but there was a giant wall in the way. Not a literal one, but a geographical one. Its most direct land route was completely cut off by its neighbor, Pakistan.
So what do? How do you just go around an entire country? Well, that single question kicked off a diplomatic and engineering saga that's been going on for decades. When your front door is locked, you have to get creative and find a back door. And India's solution, well, it was pretty audacious.
Okay, so first, let's really get a sense of just how big this challenge was. We're in Section 1, landlocked by a neighbor. This is all about that geographical wall India had to figure out how to climb over. So here's the bottom line. Pakistan just said no to letting Indian trucks drive through. This meant Indian goods had to take these ridiculously long and expensive sea routes. Imagine having to drive all the way around the city just to get next door. It made India's economy vulnerable, so it desperately needed another way in. And there was another thing. This was also about keeping an eye on China's growing footprint at the nearby Gwadar port.
So what was the big idea? That brings us to Section 2, building a new gateway. The answer, it turned out, was right across the Arabian Sea, in Iran. The master plan was to build and run a brand new, world-class port called Chabahar, creating a whole new corridor from the sea to the heart of Asia. Now, you have to understand, this was a marathon, not a sprint. The idea first popped up way back in 2003, but the real game changer was in 2016 with a huge three-way deal. By 2018, India made history. For the first time ever, it was managing a port outside its own borders, and the big 10-year contract signed in 2024, that was the moment that really locked everything in for the long haul.
Which brings us to the really good part. Section 3, the payoff. After all that work, did it actually deliver? Well, the ambition is now a reality, and the numbers, they tell a pretty incredible story.
First up, speed. We are talking about a 40% reduction in transit time. A journey that used to take a painful 45 days slogging through the Suez Canal now takes about 25. In the world of logistics, that's not just better, it's a total game changer.
And you know what happens when things get faster? They get cheaper. By literally shortening the trip, the port slashes shipping costs by around 30%. Suddenly, Indian goods have a massive competitive edge, blowing open doors to all these new markets.
And hey, this isn't just talk. Since India took charge in late 2018, the port has already handled more than 8.4 million tons of cargo and over 90,000 shipping containers. But what's really amazing is that it's become this vital lifeline for people too. It's been used to send tons of wheat to help Afghanistan and other aid to Iran. But here's the thing. Chabahar is so much more than just a port. It's the key that unlocks a much bigger vision. This takes us to Section 4, the INSTC crown jewel. We're talking about a plan to connect an entire supercontinent.
You see, the port is India's main entrance to something called the International North-South Transport Corridor, the INSTC. Just think of it as a 7,200-kilometer economic superhighway made of ships, rails, and roads. It connects India all the way to Russia and Europe, and it cleverly bypasses all the usual bottlenecks. And I love this quote from the source material. It calls Chabahar the crown jewel of this entire network. And that's exactly what it is. It's the linchpin. Without this one port, the whole grand vision just doesn't work.
So what does this all mean for the future? Well, for starters, it's a huge trade multiplier. We're talking about tapping into a $2 trillion market. Second, faster shipping frees up billions of dollars in frozen capital, money that's normally just stuck on a boat for weeks. And third, it's about security, giving India a direct line to Central Asia's unbelievable mineral wealth, which is absolutely vital for tech and green energy.
But, of course, it's not that simple. There's a major plot twist in this story. That brings us to Section 5, walking the sanctions tightrope, because this entire project has one very powerful and very unpredictable antagonist: U.S. sanctions against Iran.
For years, those sanctions made it almost impossible to invest in Iran.
The only reason Chabahar even exists is because the US granted India a special permission slip, a waiver back in 2018, mostly because the port was needed for aid to Afghanistan. But that waiver was never permanent. As you can see, its future is always up in the air, shifting with the political winds and constantly putting the whole project on a knife's edge.
And just look at what's at stake here. With that waiver, business is good. The port runs, banks are willing to work with you, you can import equipment. It's a real gateway. Without it, the money freezes, shipping companies get spooked, and this billion-dollar project is in danger of becoming a very expensive, very empty piece of real estate. The difference is literally night and day.
All right, so let's tie this all together in our final section, Section 6, India's Eurasian Future, a gateway of opportunity. When you step back and look at all the hurdles, the geography, the decades of diplomacy, the constant threat of sanctions, one thing becomes crystal clear. The goal has never, ever changed. This has always been about securing a stable, independent trade route right into the economic heart of Eurasia. This whole project is really a monument to that incredible long-term thinking.
And that leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? Is Chabahar a guaranteed gateway to prosperity that will fuel growth for decades? Or is it a massive, high-stakes geopolitical gamble totally at the mercy of forces beyond its control? You know, the answer is probably both. And that's exactly what makes the story so compelling to watch.